The incident? Asked the judge. His forehead wrinkled with concern. I nodded. But that came later. See, when we adopted her, the people at the Humane Society said they didn't know exactly how old she was. They thought she was about a year old and wouldn't grow much larger, but they were so wrong. She grew a lot more. The vet said she was one of the biggest German shepherds he'd ever seen in his whole entire life. Everyone said she was too much dog for us, but we couldn't take her back because by then she already loved us and we loved her. And besides, how could I give back a dog who reads my mind? She reads your mind? Asked the judge. I nodded. Yes! I can just look at her and think that she needs a walk, and she will go sit next to her leash. Or one time, I couldn't find my backpack, and I was looking all over the house for it, but I wasn't saying, "Where's my backpack?" I was just thinking it, and Shu started whining and pawing at the door. When I opened it, my backpack was right there on the back steps. See what I mean? The judge nodded. I think so. Let's get to the incident. Okay, so Shu started being really protective of Mom and me. If anyone came near us, she would ballistic with her barking. I leaned closer to the judge and whispered, for a while, Grandma wouldn't even come to our house because she was so scared of Shu. The judge raised his eyebrows and nodded knowingly. Mom cleared her throat and tapped her cheek. I took a deep breath and thought about what I needed to say. Okay, so the Humane Society offered obedience training on Saturdays at Ocean Bay Park. We took Shu to the first class, and there was this humongous line of people with their dogs, and it was hardly moving because once you got to the front of it, you had to fill out all those forms. The guy in front of us was thin and over 6 feet tall, which is really tall for short people like us. He had curly black hair and black glasses and was wearing workout clothes, but he wasn't sweaty or smelly or anything like that. He had on running shoes with those short socks and a t-shirt from some marathon, the type you can only get if you actually run one. What was funny was that he was holding this weensy white poodle, this great big tall guy, and this itty bitty dog. Mom and I were standing a little bit away from him because of personal space and because people sometimes get nervous when Shu is too close to them. But Shu kept tugging on her leash, straining and whining and trying to move as close to him as possible. Finally, the man turned around and said to Mom, "If you act like the pack leader, your dog will calm down." Mom started laughing, and it was kind of funny because after all, we were in line for obedience school. The judge nodded. He took off his glasses, pulled out a handkerchief, and began cleaning the lenses. What happened next? Well, by this time, she was all hyper and jumping from one side of Mom to the other. So the guy does this amazing thing. He points at Shu and says, "Sit." And Shu sat. Mom and I were so surprised because Shu never obeyed. Mom said, "If you're so good at making a dog obey, why are you here?" The judge put his glasses back on. Why was he there? He said he was really good with big dogs, but that he'd never had a little dog in his life. See, the poodle would have never been his choice for a dog. He inherited it from a neighbor, a little lady who lived next door. The guy was always driving her, the lady, not the poodle, to the store and to the bank and fixing stuff around the house. And so when she died, she left her dog to him in her will. So how could he say no? But the poodle had some problems, like taking the guy's laundry outside, even his underwear, and leaving it in the street, and being afraid of feathers. If the poodle even saw one on the ground, or especially floating in the sky, it started trembling and crying, and it was pitiful. I put my hand on my throat. "Are you okay?" asked the judge. "Yes. Sometimes when I talk too much, I start to gulp air and then I have to rest." "Anytime you're ready," said the judge. I massaged my throat and then began again. So we were at the park, standing in line. The little poodle was wearing a tag with its name on it. Mom reached over to the poodle and said, "Lucky? Your name is Lucky? I should have adopted a little dog like you." And at that moment, the poodle leapt into Mom's arms, nuzzled into her neck, and started licking her ears. Mom was cooing and holding the poodle like a baby and tickling his tummy. And that's when it happened. The judge leaned forward. While Mom was going all crazy for Lucky, Shoo stood up and walked a little closer to the man and sniffed around his feet. Then she looked up at me. I bent down and said, "What is it, Shoo?" She looked at the man and looked at Mom and then at me, and it was like she knew. The judge's forehead crinkled. Knew what? That we were all MTBT. Sometimes dogs just know, and Shoo wanted to do something about it. So she did. MTBT? Meant to be together. The judge nodded slowly. Okay. And what did Shoo do exactly? Everyone in the courtroom leaned forward. I took a deep breath. Shoo squatted and peed right on his shoes. There was a collective gasp and then a burst of laughter. "Oh my," said the judge. I know! Mom was seriously horrified. She had never done anything like that before. And Mom didn't know this guy or how he'd react or if he'd be furious or even sue us. "What did he do?" asked the judge. "He just stared at his shoes. The pee was streaming down the outsides and the insides and soaking into his socks and everything. Then he stared at Mom and laughed. He just laughed. And then Mom began to laugh too. So she kept saying between laughing, 'I'm so sorry.' And he kept saying, 'Really, it's okay.' And Mom said, 'No, no, it's not okay.' When they were finally taking deep breaths and calming down, he looked at me and asked, 'What's your dog's name?' When I said, 'Shoo,' he looked at Mom and they started all over again. But this time they were laughing so hard that they were all bent over and holding their stomachs. I mean, a dog named Shoo pees on his shoes." The judge smiled. "Yes, I see the irony."